And we are live. Look at that.
You caught me with a glass to my face. Glass to my
Mid.
face. What a fun intro, dude. Who cut that for you? Is that you?
No, I think you know who I'm. John Napoli. He made that for me, COVID style. I was like, dude, throw some beats together, and the new video. I did the artwork and the video itself, stitched it up during the quarantine as much as I could, and it's the new 31-second commercial. I
Right
actually
on, right on.
at the end of it, I added the live Zoom cheers event because, like, basically that's what we did for months. But hopefully, we'll get soon enough not be able to do that through a screen and kind of do a little bit more in person. But
Yeah, I think that depends on the shots, though, man. And I mean, the good news is, like, the old people I know and the frontline workers I know are getting them, and obviously that's the most important thing.
yep,
But as far as and everybody's priorities are what they are, but I feel like service industry people should be getting a little more priority than they are around here, right? If we can make them safe, we
yep.
can get a lot of the state's feet back under it. But till then, the good news is we're a healthy group, so they're telling us to wait, and
Yep.
hopefully we get it. I see Tim Hitchings is here. What's up, Tim Hitchings? Hey, Tim, what'd you think of the beer? You never told me. Did you drink it yet?
Yeah, so guys, we're trying out this. By the way, I'm Mike, and you might remember me from every one of these, and that's Augie. I think it's been a while since Augie and I did one of these together. The last time was in person. Was
Get a go, dude.
Yeah, almost probably 10 years ago at this point. But I'm trying a new platform out, so if you're reading through this comments and stuff, we can pop it on the screen, authenticate through the StreamYard application if you want, so your name appears. And we're going to see what happens. And if the platform is good, we're going to try to use it. I'm going to probably remove our names from here, because we kind of know who we are at this point. But it's kind of fun to be able to pop these different things.
Nobody knows who I am.
No, not at all. And I can go like this and make you bigger and make me bigger. Fancy.
It's that.
So what are you drinking there, Augie?
I'm drinking Whaler. I had a nutty fucking weekend. So some friends of ours, I know you know them, do a Facebook Live thing called the Lager Room, and I joined them, and it was kind of a preview for EBF. So I drank the barley wine I made for it, as well as Calagione's barley wine, and a couple lagers for safety, and ended up deep in my cups. Peach brandy barrel barley wine, Tim, not peach brandy barley wine. Peach brandy barrel. Anyway, but then, so that was my warm up for the event, and in an hour I slammed way too much barley wine. So then I did the session, which was tasting all the beers. I had Tommy Arthur's Toupee. I had everybody's beer. Had another one of Sam's, had another one of mine, had some crazy maple syrup stout, some good stuff, proper roasty stout, some neat fun stuff, but all monsters. So that was Friday night. Saturday I cleansed up, did my cayenne pepper lemon cleanse with just a couple whips. And then yesterday was the game, so I was drinking lagers the whole day. So in my cycle, fruity hazy's up. So I pulled out a 4-pack of Whaler to drink with you guys tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, Tim said EBF was awesome. Tim, you guys could hear me? I felt like I wasn't there for the first half, but that was okay.
Yeah, I think Gene from my team on NJCB, he participated. He was texting me screenshots of you, and I think you were with Sam as well, and and a few others. He was like, "Oh, check this out," and I'm like, he said, "Is that what Monday's going to be like?" I'm like, "It's going to be a little bit less drinking, and hopefully, because it is Monday, but but yeah, we were off before we even got on camera. We were just talking about my weekend too, and I started my I haven't been down to the Seed that opened in Atlantic City next to Little Water Distillery, so I decided to go see our friends down there at Sean and Amanda who opened up a few months back, and number one, the space is beautiful. From a shell of a warehouse that I saw about the day they got the lease, that was just a shell of a warehouse in that part of Atlantic City, over by Oceans or whatever, Revel, whatever it's called now. And so then I turned into this beautiful space they built all themselves and whatnot, and doing really just fantastic beers right out of the gate. So I started my journey there, and then I proceeded to go to Little Water next door to get a nice little gin cocktail and some stuff to go, including,
Careful.
some more gin and whatnot. And then I went up to Hidden Sands, I went to Tuckahoe, and I went to Garden State Beer Company, and headed home from there.
You don't need to go to 10 in a day to call it a write-off for business. You could have just hit 5 spots.
Yeah, I could have, but the goal was to see everyone I could as quickly as I could without, trying everything on prem. So I took a bunch to go, and fridge is restocked and ready to roll.
Oh, it's fun. So actually, you were talking about seed. I was going to say, but I guess Facebook user beat me to it. I guess somebody listens to your podcast and mine. I have a podcast I do with John Hall called Steal This Beer with Justin Kennedy and Brian Cass. And so we actually had the guy from the seed on. His name's escaping me right now because I'm on the spot and I'm drinking. But yeah, so Sean was on the show, and super interesting cat. I fell in love with him right away. Really liked his ethos, really liked what he was saying. And, I was really into his vibe. And, for me, like I say to everybody, like, I was a waiter for too long and a production assistant for even longer. You kind of know in a day if somebody gets it or not. And he was just one of those guys where I was like, oh, this guy's going to be a fun guy to fuck with. And then unrelated, yesterday on the show, or Saturday we recorded, but I think it's today's episode if this Facebook user has a link to it. But we had Hillary from Rabbit Hill on, and she actually sent us beers. And the shtick there is we drink blind. Hillary wrapped them in foil with, 7 layers of tape. So we just pour them in a black glass and we just drink them. And the second beer of the day was this gorgeous. And it's funny, this sounds like I'm showing off because I knew what it was blind, but it was such a perfectly put together black lager that blind, you knew it was a black lager. You know what I mean? It didn't skirt the edges. It wasn't like confusingly chocolatey or confusingly, the yeast wasn't weird. It was very clearly a very, very well-organized black lager. Over the moon for it. And John Hall, my partner on that show, those are in his favorite vein of beer. So we just glowed about it. And then when we finally broke it out of this wrapping it was in, which needed, 2 knives and a fucking set of garden shears because Hillary went so over the top. It was the Seeds. I think I kept the can, but it's something in the Shadows or so. Do you know the name, Mike? Like Game of Shadows or Play of the Shadows or? Yeah,
something with the Shadows. I forgot the name, but it's on my Untapped because I tried it as well.
I doubt they have 50 black lagers going.
Yeah, no, I think
in their first year. Yeah, so go get their black lager. But if you're anywhere around AC, it's funny. Pre-COVID, all of us would end up in AC at some point every year, right? But now you got to be going. But for now, if you're anywhere near AC, go to the Seed and make them give you that black lager because it is tasty AF.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the whole thing. I had everything because they only had a couple things in cans to go, being new still, and how the can thing is trying to lock that in, and depending on the size, etc. But
Cass, as long as people got to learn, Cass got to work.
That's true. He does. Gonna make that guy do something except for drifting. But yeah, it's definitely good stuff down that way. And soon enough, some of the breweries will be coming further north and vice versa, heading further south. And I think that's the kind of the beauty of what's been happening most recently, especially with like the home delivery service that's available now currently, and the online ordering to take stuff to go without having to go crazy. You can just buy online as soon as stuff's released or anytime you want. And in fact, a lot of breweries, including Carton, I believe, you're open more hours than you normally would be because you can just take stuff to go at like pretty often. Is that correct for you guys at least?
Hold on, stay with me. Something happened. Some stupid update. Okay, good. I got you back. Sorry. So my computer did some, hey, install this now. And I was like, where the fuck did Mike just go? Apologize. I'm back to it. By the way, I'm reading on the side here that Jake Eager is calling out Facebook user as Hall. So that's the guy I was talking about if it is. But
the John Hall.
I'm trying to suggest he might be Scott Wells. So if you're Scott Wells, go fuck yourself. And if you're John Hall, double go fuck yourself. But hi, Jake. Anyway, yeah, as you're saying, so it's funny the way this is rolling, man. Like in April, when everything was shutting down and getting weird, and we had no idea what to do, I think one of the greatest things about Jersey that I saw was the scrappy little places in our town figuring out ways to get business done.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those first things was, it sounds silly, but you needed to create space. Like the guideline is 6 feet or whatever, but you needed to create space for people. And the way that seemed to make sense was just adding hours, right? Like if you usually get, for Carton in any normal year, we get 200 people through on a Saturday. If you can spread that Monday to Friday and it's only 20 people a day, you don't have to worry about the cramping, right? So that's how we did it. And, there's Mondays we definitely shouldn't have opened. I mean, like one guy comes through and buys two 4-packs. But even if that one guy would have been cramped or would have been a problem to get in on a Saturday, it's still the right thing to do right now, I think, because the last thing you want is somebody that wants your beer these days having trouble getting it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the world's too small. Things are too tight. You can't be like, wow, sorry, bro, fuck you. So finding a couple hours a day when anybody can get by is definitely the move. I know we did, and I think everybody else is doing.
Yeah, a lot of them are doing way more hours than they had, especially to go, making it so easy. Like they don't necessarily have on-prem consumption hours during those hours, and some of them don't even have it at all. But at the same time, the stuff to go, a lot of them are doing it that way. And even like, bars doing, cocktails and bottles to go and wine to go, things like that. It seems to be a lot more hours that are better for people to get there and drive more than 10 minutes, or they can drive an hour and a half, 2 hours on a Tuesday afternoon if they have the time, because a lot more places are open, which is
and so many people are work from home. It's funny.
Yep.
It's the joke at the beginning of COVID was proving this all could have been done remotely. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Proving this meeting didn't need to happen, but it's shocking how, a guy you would only see Friday night at 6 pops in Wednesday at 2 and is like, hey, it was between Zooms and spreads
totally
it out
happens
for the crowd.
It totally does.
When does John Hall leave? I hope he doesn't leave. I love John Hall. If that's really John Hall, say hi, John Hall.
Yeah, he probably didn't authenticate because,
It sounds like it might be him. He's telling me he's drinking a DBA. Firestone Walker DBA just texted me. So either it's him or somebody told him, but DBA. So the other guest this weekend was David Walker, and he mailed me and John some DBAs, and John got more than I did, so he's kind of rubbing my nose in it. I got 2, which I immediately drank the minute they arrived. John got 6, so he's been stretching the torture.
Those are a great beer. Actually, remember we did that. We did the what's it called? The Firestone event. Me and you met up at the Firestone event at Nutley. Drawing blank. Come back to me. It will be there soon. At Cohen's, Cohen's Public,
Counts. But so actually, the David Walker was on that episode that day. Yep. So this was his return tour.
See that? There's a lot of good stuff happening in this beer scene around the state. I think so much good beer coming out of different places. It's pretty cool to experience. Like as much as, I mean, I'm a huge Firestone fan. I think they're my favorite or second favorite outside jersey brand. I don't pick a favorite jersey brand, so no one can ask me for that. And you all know that is true. But yeah, but exactly. But but you know, like there's just such great stuff coming through. I mean, the stuff I tried this past weekend, the things I've tried with like, you know, friends and family trading beers, bringing beers, whatever. Oh, it's just insane. I recall going back this past summer for my friend's annual camping trip. This year was a little bit different than any that we've done in the past for obvious reasons, but also because we decided to all go. There was a couple of people that went that haven't left the house so at all in months. So we all had to make sure we were healthy and safe. And they tasked me with bringing all of the beer. So they said, please don't duplicate any 4-packs. I'm like, all right, that was not difficult. So 8 cases of beer for 3 days for 8 people. And
that's respectable drinking. Good on you, Kiv.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Not bad at all. Watching you sip tea while I drink IPAs, but I get it.
But the hard part was the not hard part, I should say, was not duplicating those 4 or 6-packs, right? So I was able to get so much variety because people are putting out, whether it's pilsners, lagers, IPAs, West Coast IPAs. Like October, it was October, so we had Oktoberfest. We had, I had brown ales. I had you just barrel aged stuff, you name it.
Well, that's actually, so that was the fun of having Hillary on the show. For those of you paying attention, or at least for Tim and Facebook user John Hall and Jake, Hillary is Rabbit Hill Malts in the southwestern corner of New Jersey. I don't know
I think it's Silo or Shiloh down like Cumberland County or Salem County.
It's legitimately 2 hours from here. And since in my head, all of New Jersey is reachable within 90 minutes, those couple corners that are 2 hours away are far, far away. But so she obviously has a horse in the malt forward beer race, being Jersey's maltster. But she sent us, like I said, I've already talked about the black lager from Seed, but she also sent us a brown ale, I think from Tuckahoe. I don't want to be wrong on that. And I need a beer, so give me 1 sec. I'll grab myself a beer and see if the can's over here. It is not. I suck. All right, so never mind, but I'll find out and I'll text you or email you. But, so when people come to Carton, I mean, we were established with boat. We were hazy before hazy. We were Citra before Citra. We're all those things. So people think of us as a hoppy brewer, and I never shun that. But most of what people bring me are these echo chamber beers, which I love. I'm drinking one right now. Whaler's one of my favorite of our productions. But everybody brings me everybody's hazy Citra Pale. And I don't want to sound like a dick, but I make my hazy Citra Pales taste exactly the way I want them to taste. So I'm not, every now and then one crosses my bow where I'm like, oh, that's fucking tasty. Good job. But most I'm like, yeah, I get it. So getting 2 New Jersey beers that were, not Instagram beers, just properly well put together, dignified black lager and brown ale made me very hopeful for the soul of Jersey drinking, but it also made me miss our pubs, right? Like, you know better than anybody because you're in the business, but so much of Jersey is dictated by our fucked up laws about liquor licenses. And if we live in a world where guys with liquor licenses aren't allowed to sell beer for 18 months, 2 years, and their only asset is their license, and they have to sell it, the only people that can afford to buy them are going to be Applebee's and Buffalo Wild Wings and all these other places. And what was so shocking about those 2 beers was they were the kind of beers you want to drink in a neighborhood bar, Murphy's or Boyle's by Me, you know what I mean? Or God, what's Tierney's in Montclair? You know what I mean? Like those good neighborhood bars where you want to sit down and have 5 pints in a row of a beer like that. So it made me very hopeful for the beer and very worried about our bar scene if we don't save the local places and get them reopened soon, right? Because we need now that we have these beers available in New Jersey, we need these places to drink them. And as much as
Exactly.
I'm, I don't want to poo-poo Fridays, but I'm never meeting a guy at Fridays for 5 black lagers from the seed,
No.
right? You need to go to a place that's never seen a glass window that wasn't stained for that beer. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can get there. How is that going? You being the guy with the finger on the pulse of all the restaurants and
Yeah. I mean, first off, it was the brown ale from Tonewood. Apparently, John Hall is saying that you're forgetting.
What did I say it was? Was I close?
You didn't say you said Tonewood. No, you said Tuckahoe. So they both start with a T.
Oh, they both start with a TO.
Yep.
So
In
Augie world, that's 100% accurate. I nailed that.
And I think I don't remember which brown ale from Tonewood, but they do make some killer beers, that's for sure.
Did Tim Hitchings just call me old? Damn. Damn.
It seems that way. No, but in terms of the bars and restaurants, it kind of depends, to be honest, on where you're at with the fact that they just, for a while, everything was closing at 10 p.m. You lost the ability to have the certain crowd of people after work, things like that, going out to like the later crew. You lost like the service industry crew after they're done with their shift, things like that. You lost a lot of that. Hopefully that will pick up a little bit more now that people can stay open later again. In terms of the restaurants selling beer, I mean, a lot of them are doing okay. There are some that clearly just didn't or had to close because of this. Sadly, places like Poor Henry's and things like that, like they ended up having to close. But there are a lot of smaller places I've seen that closed. Unfortunately, we know liquor stores are doing really well still, but in terms of the bars, a lot of them are just getting creative in what I've seen them doing. Like, they have to sort of sell cans or pour from cans because there's not a lot of draft, and not a lot of the breweries are making sixtels and half barrels, because currently you're putting stuff in kegs that if you sell it and it doesn't sell from there, then you're sitting on this beer. So they're packaging everything up, which I've seen a lot more of that. There are definitely some draft lines here and there, especially breweries that are smaller, or like, 5-7 barrels that are doing sixtels and stuff for in-house consumption, but also in-house like crowler fills and things like that. So some of the smaller breweries are getting their stuff on draft where they might not have had it there before. Some of them are doing things like that, and the rest are doing what they can just to survive. The restaurants are getting creative with doing to-go food, to-go alcohol, to-go beer, which
you should have been around the Jersey Shore this summer.
It was
what we're calling the rum bucket these days, but it's had a million names along the way. Rum buckets to go were devastating for a few family barbecues around my neighborhood this summer.
Oh yeah, there was
Hitchings. Ring game, outstanding. Really enjoying the peach brandy barrel. Is great. Oh, so sorry. Hitchings always asks about the barley wines. I always tease him, but I finally gave him one now. So, Tim, the answer is this: you take Maris Otter barley and you cook it, and I believe you should way overcook it. A standard boil for a beer is anywhere from, you could even do a 30 to 40 these days for some recipes, but it's always around an hour. And the classic original American IPAs were around 90. And then if you're going for a roasty, you cook it for longer. I like to cook my barley wines around 6 hours before we knock them out and chill them. And then we just park them in different barrels around the house till they taste right. And then you blend them. And hopefully you're mixing years and you've got old and new and a little stink and a little sexy and a little sweet and a little toffee and a little sherry and all this. And then every now and then you have one that you're like, wow, that's... So the Ring Game one you're drinking is a barley wine that finished right around 11 or 12%. And was pretty and really nicely cooked and had some great sweetness to it, but let's call it, I don't know, Werther's instead of Rolos, or, top burnt sugar, not bottom burnt sugar. Went to a peach brandy barrel, and when we were tasting, we're like, this one is just so unique and so special. Let's just bottle it. So I think there's like 150, maybe 175 bottles of that. And that's Ring Game. And the Ring Game joke is, my head brewer Stark was like, tastes to me like peach rings. And I was like, it does taste like those, those candies, Mike, that
Yeah.
silly. He's like, it tastes like peach rings. I was like, so we'll call it Ring Game. We'll make it, and it'll be a one-off, and that's that. So that's what you're drinking, my friend. That's the whole story. Ask any follow-up questions.
And
sorry to interrupt, but I keep promising I'll tell them.
We just got a comment about places. We were talking about like growlers and stuff to go. Firkin Tavern in Ewing, apparently, according to Lisa, which I've seen their menu recently, maybe a few months back, maybe. They've been doing a lot of draft and filling up growlers and growlers to go. So, there are definitely bars and restaurants that are.
See, now we worry about that. Like, so I'm against crowlers because crowlers are single use. And I think the best part about a growler is it's multi-use, right? Like you should can a can, and it's the best for going to stores and out of house. But for in-house consumption, if you even use a growler 2 times, you've helped the earth. So crowlers always kind of worried me. I don't like a one-use, one-way aluminum can that, a glass is better for it. If you're just going to take it home and just open it, let's throw it in a bottle. But then we have the problem with these days, you're supposed to be completely reducing your touches. And my people in the brewery shouldn't be touching something you've touched that we can't sanitize, and vice versa. Yeah. So we use tubes to fill. There's just too much touching on there. So we've gone to much more canning of beer in the sterile canning line, in the sterile canning situation, just to take those touches out. And one of the things I'm most looking forward to bringing back is when, there's some amount of immunization that happens where it's like, okay, take the plexiglass down. And that's when I'm like, oh, thank God we're back to growlers, because our growler. You were there 10 years ago when we invented it. It's got a Sally growler on it. It's like my favorite little bit of our art. And I've been afraid to hand them out. So sorry, Lisa, but I'm glad somebody's doing them.
Might have one up there. Where's my growler? Yeah. Well, I have my old copper mine one, and I have another one over there. Who knows? There's too many.
Coppermine did that. Coppermine used to do that old swing top stone growler, we used to call it, right?
Yeah, I think they had that. And and they also had the little 32-ounce ones. They were like the first. I have random stuff. I have the random misprinted 20-ounce copper mine glass too over there too. When somehow they got like true British, it weighs like 4 pounds. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, you're talking about the Nonic Imperial pint.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I dream of the day that's a collectible.
Yep. It is crazy that we're going. I was looking for a picture. I put it on Instagram today, and that was from give or take 10-ish years ago when you called me up and like, "Yo, come to this brewery," and I'm like, "Huh?" And then you were like, "Check this out." And the picture I put is you show me the tap handles on the prototype of the tap handles on the iPad, and I was like, "Uh-huh, this is so ridiculous that just makes me feel really old, but at the same time, I love it." And
well, you guys were about 6 months ahead of us.
Yeah, so I launched.
Started right Christmas. Before we started, right? You opened right around the time Cape May opened, right?
Yeah, so I did. It was like Christmas Eve, 2010 was my official launch. Penultimate Christmas Eve.
No, there's a name for it. I don't know because I'm not good at that things, but there's a name for all those days leading up.
I'll have to Google it.
It's at least 11 Lords of Leaping.
But yeah, I launched around then, and it's been a wild journey, and I'm happy that we're able to do this again because it's been quite some time. And
well, I got way too busy for way too long, but John Hall just texted me that the name we're looking for is December 23rd.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Nailed it,
Not
John. We should have had him along. We're useless without him. I'm glad you're here, John. Thanks for keeping me honest. Yeah, December 23rd. Fuck you. But yeah, what was I saying before he made me laugh? So yeah, we got crazy busy, but now with COVID and all the attention demanded, I've cut myself down to 2 from 3 full-time jobs. So when you asked about this, I was like, you know what? I'm newly free and I miss drinking and shooting the shit with you. So since this is basically how all my dates go these days, I might as well do one with you. You know what I mean? It's so funny how this is how I had Christmas with my mom. You know what I mean? Like when people I was like, if it's good enough for dinner with my mom, it's good enough for hanging out with Mike for a beer, right? Although, did you open that beer yet, Mr. T Guy?
I'm probably gonna do it.
See, John Hall, I can peer pressure even remotely.
Mm-hmm. I got the.
What are you drinking there?
Tuckahoe. It's a Hell's Bach. All legend.
Wait, is a Hell's Bach a Maibach? Is that a month early Maibach or a 2-month early Maibach?
I'm not sure. I got to read what it says.
I think that's right. I think a Hell's Bach is a Maibach. Right on. Tim Hitchings, ask me another question. Or Lisa. No? All right, let's get back to me and Mike drinking beers.
I like this software, but it doesn't tell me how many people are watching without me switching back and forth. And I don't really feel like fucking it up.
Even if they are, it's always a lie.
Oh, of course. Never know.
People ask me all the time how, the Bradley Brew Project team, Gretchen from Little Dog, Mike Kane and I did a panel discussion.
Oh yeah, I recall that.
Immediately prior to the COVID lockdown, just 4 friends sitting down, shooting the shit and doing a Q&A with whatever. And one of the questions was to Mike and I about our followership on Instagram and I guess a number that was quite impressive. And they asked me how it happened. And I was like, I'm pretty sure it's all bots. Like I think there's 20 people that come by the brewery every Saturday, and that's who I believe, and everything else I think is a fiction. So I never trust numbers. How do you decide how to blend a barley wine, and how do you scale to fill bottles? Oh, it's you've got that backwards, Tim. You blend for like flavors, right? So you taste 20 barrels. The one that most excites you is the one you build on. And then you pick parts that you think will support that flavor. And however much of that happens is how many bottles you make. Usually, I think a good number is, so, we do those 3-packs. I think a good number is somewhere between 150 and 300, which is somewhere between a total barrel and 2. And then what I like to do is everything that's left when we're done with our blending gets married up into the barrels that are still half full. And those get to wait another 6 months, and then we revisit. And if they go somewhere neat and interesting, then that's the next building block. And if not, they get thrown out. And, in a perfect world, you're making 1 great barrel for every 6 you put down. It's a terrible business model. It's not how anybody should. It's not how anybody should do business. It's very bad for everybody except the barrel sellers. But you want to make it right. You make it right.
We had another question about what is your favorite not U.S. based beer?
What's my favorite? Oh, Orval. Isn't that the only answer to that question? Is that Lisa?
Yeah.
Orval. Orval is. I like my beers to keep me guessing. I like my beers to keep me interested, and largely I'm much more attracted to the aromatics in beer than the flavors in beer. And Orval hits every single one of those nails for me. Sometimes it's super funky and weird. Sometimes it's almost Pilsner-like. It's got a defining hop bit to it that isn't important to it, but is part of what it is. it's everything I like in a beer. And um, I just, I don't know, I think in a restaurant, if I don't know the chef and I don't know what they're cooking, it's the beer I hope they have, because I think it plays better at table than most every other beer in both contribution and complement. So I would always say Orval for non-US beer, and I might say Orval for beer in general. Um, that being said, DBA, which John and I were just flirting about on the side text, it's funny as we, the British Pale Ale begat the IPA, which begat the American IPA, which begat the West Coast IPA, which begat the East Coast IPA, which begat the New England IPA, which begat where we are. And having some fresh DBA to sip on this week, and remember that, it used to be hops to complement malts, and now it's malts to complement hops. Going back to that really pretty light dance of a super super well constructed beer that makes room for its yeast to be a player as much as its malt and its hops, really turned me on. It's when we fool around in the brew, we have a little side project we call Brewers Board, where we just brew to impress each other, and we mostly do classics. But drinking DBA made me go into work today and say, weren't you didn't you want to brew a pale? Didn't you want to brew a brown? Didn't you want to brew a ESB? Let's get those back up top of the list, because they always fall behind. You'll be at some hop thing, you'll do some rubbing of some new hop you've never seen before, you'll smell it, and you'll be like, oh, if we Citra and what? And all of a sudden you get so excited, and so in the moment you rush ahead and everything else trickles down, and that damn vanilla stout you've been trying to make for a year waits another month, and then it's summer, and who wants a vanilla stout? You know what I mean? So, But DBA reminds me.
DBA is also a fun one, because then there's double DBA, which is a completely different thing, but it's amazing. And then there's also the unfiltered DBA, which is also amazing. And then I think there was three variants of DBA, or maybe just
I think there's a black version. I think there's a Wookiee Jack version of DBA as well.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a
Wookiee DBA.
Delicious product.
It's fun. What's Jake asking?
Jake is asking. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Jake. Look, Jake got married. That's awesome. See the picture?
Yeah.
So the answer to that is, yeah, man, it's we want to do it. It involves getting fresh bouillon hops, getting the distillate made at the time of it, and having a brand new, built for us by Fooder Crafter, fresh wooden Fooder, bought, paid for, and placed at the time of the hop harvest to get the oils made, to do the brew, and then it takes another year in house. And as much as I love projects like that and always want to make them and have long-term plans for them, in a year where you're afraid you might not be able to open the tasting room next week, those beers Carton does that really require, our people. Like, think about it this way, Mike. If you put Inside Our DNA in a can, which we did, and you write all the words you can to explain what it was, and it goes out to a store, and nobody that's selling it had the meeting with the Carton person to explain it, and some guy just buys it and sees IPA on it, classic New Jersey IPA, and doesn't know about wood aging, and doesn't know about bouillon hop distillation, and doesn't know that it's a tribute to Ballantine from my dad's knee and all that. They taste it and go, wow, this doesn't taste anything like Whaler. And then they dump it and move on. You're like, damn it. So without our ability to really be, in the room with people and talk about the beer and hope that people on NJCB and people like you and everybody, Jake, will pass that word along. We don't have a marketing budget and a translation budget to talk about our special breed of fuckery. So without
I think that also
that really hinders that.
Yeah, I think that's also true. Like, obviously, locally in Jersey, we're way more volatile of a, like, the different COVID approvals come and go way more than it does in other places currently. But at the same time, I think this is happening regionally and nationally. I mean, I've seen some of the one-off here and there of like Allagash or one-off Sierra Nevada that like, but they were pushing hard for well, celebration is delicious, but they were pushing through a celebration and all over and
Celebration
over.
was fucking great this year.
Yeah, and I
Celebration
mean,
this year was top notch.
but like that's the kind of stuff that's like, breweries just can't. They want to get creative and stuff, but they have to do the small scale. You can't totally do a giant project on something like that when you don't know if it is going to sit there or be sold. And yes, there's no ability to taste it in the tasting room, which makes it even harder. Sadly, I mean, there's the ability, but making 30 barrels of something that is going to cost that much money to put up to make, and then have to sell it, like it's just too hard to even figure out right now, especially while shelf space is difficult. People's cellars are full because they're buying more than they ever have.
I disagree with you there. People's cellars are empty.
You think?
That's the good news is, or at least,
well, their fridges might be full.
People,
their cellars might be
our empty. Our people are fucking drinking through beer. It's funny what I've seen people drinking recently. Like, somebody pulled out remember that Insider DNA beer we did with Strumke or against Strumke, or I'm sorry, I said Insider DNA because I read that there, but I mean the Sit Down Son. Somebody found a 3-pack of that in their cellar. That's a 5-year-old lager. I was like, really? Like, yeah. I was like, how is it? And can I have one? And he's like, no, I drank them all. So people are emptying their cellars during this quarantine. Who's texting you? You getting those sweet texts too? All right, you answer that. I'll answer this. Is it a tribute to Ballantine Burton Ale? No, it's a tribute to Ballantine IPA. I'm unaware of Ballantine Burton Ale. But
Burton Ale was
IPA.
Burton Ale was, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. That was the special Christmas gift that the Ballantine employees would give to their Ballantine Brewery would give to their employees, and somebody made a Burton. That's got to be John Hall, by the way, drinking.
That's got to be John Hall talking about the.
He's on the canoe.
But that's, to be fair, we gave you enough that you could still be drinking
it. But I think Burton Ale was their, like, I want to say barrel aged like Christmas IPA or something that they made for their employees.
IPA was wood. So the neat thing about them is that IPA was fermented in wood and used a hop distillate that nobody's ever done then or since, which is why our hop distillation process, actually, it begat the Wedge Issue program. We found somebody to distill the bouillon hops for us to be authentic to that part of the IPA. I think I know what you're talking about. I think the Burton Ale is like what they gave their distributors, and every now and then some salesman gives one to some beer writer and it becomes somebody's fucking white whale, but zero fucks given. IPA is what my dad and his friends were drinking when they wrote a beer book in '82, and I was stealing that from them. It's actually funny. I remember we were talking before the beer they couldn't get in good enough shape to review was this crazy beer out of California called Anchor Steam. They'd heard of it. They wanted it. They kept having somebody mail it across country just like you and I would now. But it was, USPS, snail mail, 1982. And they said 3 times they tried to get it. Smoked Canoe will happen, Jake, but John Hall won't get any. Anyway, But anyway, so that was the funny part. But yeah, these guys brought every beer that was available in the world in 1981, 2, 3, and 4 into my dad's house to drink it critically. And I just remember when I read the stories of, how Sierra started. I was always hearing stories of Ballantine IPA in Newark and remembered them seeking out that because it was old at the time or hard to get at the time. It was a wood-aged barley wine that was aged for multiple years. Okay, well, we definitely did a couple of those this week. So
that's what Burton Burton
But
was. It was
Burton
the wood
wouldn't be a
age.
barley wine. That would be what somebody told you it was. Burton is definitely the wood to wood to wood fermentation. It's what DBA does. It's why DBA is double barrel ale. But whatever. There's a lot of legends around that.
Yep.
So no, somebody said we're doing a cane collab. We are not, that I'm aware of.
I think your
We're
boy.
using their cans. We're using.
John Hall seeding it out there.
Oh, that's Sean Hall talking about Mickey's White Lightning. So all right, so I can explain that. That's funny. One night, might have been John Hall's birthday. Might have been Mike Cain's birthday. I can't remember. We were all in Colorado for some beer event, and John and I were tuned up, as we clearly are now. And Mike Cain, Glenn, John, and I were riding in a thing. And I have this bad habit where I call friends of mine named Mickey when I'm drunk. So I was calling Mike Mickey already, which I don't think he likes. I don't think he hates it, but I was wasted Augie, so it didn't matter. But I was trying to pitch that there was no fun collab for me and him to do, because we do every beer we want. Each one of us made 500 beers, and by the time we both agreed to do one, we no longer want to do it. That it needed to be something like a 40-ounce bottle of malt liquor. And that if Mike wanted to do that and we could somehow figure out how to bottle it in 2-liter soda bottles, plastic soda bottles, and if he was willing to call it Mickey Cain's White Lightning, then I would be 100% on board with making Mickey Cain's White Lightning at Carton Brewing after we figured out how to plastic bottle it. And John Hall, deep in his cups and on his way to a margarita night and taco dinner, was super excited for Mickey Cain's White Lightning. So he keeps trying to make that happen. But neither one of us knows how to plastic bottle beer yet, so it's not going to happen yet.
I want 40s now, thanks. 40s are, oh God, I miss the good old days of drinking 40s. But the hangover.
Well, they might come back if this can shortage goes on.
True, very true. So yeah, what's it called?
There you go. Somebody said Valentine Burton Ale was 11%, like 120. Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's like a triple IPA kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Well, it probably would have been the reserve section of the IPA, right? Because I think the IPA was around 7%.
Mm-hmm. It's really fun to have to find the old beer stuff that's local to the area. I know, like over at Old Heights, for example, they brewery, they got their hands on some of this Philadelphia yeast, and they've been playing with this Philly yeast thing with some sour stuff and some fruited stuff they've been doing. It's pretty cool. Like, I don't know, it was like a brewery or something that was like from years back that was cultivated and dug up from somewhere. Like having a Rabbit Hill with having all the Jersey malt period. It's pretty awesome to have that, because now you're getting your local, it's obviously local, but it's also like Jersey pride. So you've got like homegrown Jersey stuff. A lot of people have done adding honey. There's so much honey, so many honey farms around. It's pretty cool to have that. And hops, there are definitely some Jersey hop farms. They're not as many as as there are with the proprietary hops that are grown outside of the state. But being able to do a one-off batch of a small harvest kind of thing is cool. I know you guys do your harvest beer every year, but that's a bigger volume, and it's not.
Well, we actually do. I guess maybe you've heard of it. We do a project called Planning Jersey, which is basically what you just described. So Evan Watson from Plan B in upstate New York, good friend of mine, and kind of my Sherpa for the agrarian part of my soul. And he talked us into doing a project, and every year on my birthday, so we get a cutting of about 2 inches of beehive from my next door neighbor's beef apiary. And we put that into wort at the end of September, and we culture the yeast on the beehive in the wort till it's about 5 gallons of yeast. And then we brew with Hillary's malts. There's actually a very neat project up the road from me. Oasis Farms, where they've found a situation where they take, grown people on the autistic spectrum who work into this farm, and they do a whole bunch of farming and farm work, and it's a kind of extension of education. And they came to us a while ago wanting to do some hops, and we hooked them up with Hopsteiner, who gave them the right rhizomes and taught them how to grow hops. And one of the many things this farm grows is hops, and they do a great job. And we actually have some of the people from that farm lead tours at Carton when tours are legal, and it's this whole synergy. So we have hops from about a mile from here, yeast from my backyard. Then we have Hillary's grains because it's the closest grains we can find, and then water's actually Atlantic Highlands. And every year we brew that into a foeder that, actually, going back to the Inside Our DNA project, when that foeder was retired from Inside Our DNA, it became the Planning Jersey foeder. So we just pitched that. We call it locust yeast. If you ever buy our OWC beers, locust yeast is the yeast we grow for that every autumn, and then we just keep that yeast alive all year for our sour or some of our sour projects. We still use Al's yeast, and we still pitch some Al's yeast. We still do our yeast. We do we still have something back from when Jesse and I were brewing of dregs we liked, but anyway, so Planning Jersey is Hillary's malts, Oasis Farms hops. My next door neighbor's yeast, he calls it Tambat, apiary at Atlantic Highlands Water, and it comes out, should be coming out actually pretty soon. Is it February now? It usually comes out around April or May. We usually make it on my birthday. It's a big birthday party for me with Hillary and Evan and a whole bunch of bourbon last year. And then, so that's one of those. And then there's a couple born of that. We use Hillary's spelt. We use that yeast on a lot of projects. Hillary and I were talking today. She's growing us some yarrow for a different saison I want to make. Yarrow is this weird little yellow bud that grows on weeds near the turnpike, which apparently is wonderful in beer. So she's growing us some of that. It's neat what's going on out there. But yeah, it's you can do it. You just got to do it well. So far, I think the hops are best served. Actually, I bet you the hops would have been great in that Tonewood Brown. I mean, they're not pale ale hops, but they're definitely supporting good character hops. So I guess it could definitely be done.
It's good. It's good stuff.
Thanks, man.
Well, before we wrap this up, is there anything you want to tell people to tune into? No,
I'm just here to have fun with you, man. No, we definitely, we just want, my message for all this is just go to your local liquor store, go to your local store, go to your local restaurant, go to your local brewery, buy all the beer you're going to drink, buy all the food you're going to eat, keep everybody alive. Collabs with Lawson? Yeah, we always collab with Lawson. Sean's a local boy. He's anytime he's in town, we'll brew with him. Just support your local places. It's that's what everybody needs. And I don't just mean Jersey. I mean, if you're up in Vermont, buy Sean Lawson's beer. Wherever you are, support your locals, get through this, keep the locals alive. Because 10 years from now, if you have to buy, Bud Light Lime Seltzer or Lemon Seltzer, whatever they were promoting last night, at Fridays to go with your Chinese tomato salsa, you're going to be like, you know what? I should have just bought an extra 4-pack from the Seed that week and learned more about black lagers, because it's going to matter, to everybody.
Yeah.
So do the right thing, get out there and take care of your neighborhood. And our neighborhood's trying to keep us alive. You keep your neighborhood alive, and we'll all get through this silliness by the end. Yarrow was used in a lot of gruits. Yes, that is true. That is true. So yeah, that's the idea. We're going to do a saison. Our saison is going to have there's going to be Yarrow saison let's say August.
Hmm.
Is that fair?
Sounds fun.
Anyway, guys, yeah, whoever that is, support local. And Mike, thanks for what you're doing. I know you were trying to end the show, and it's not my job to say goodbye, but thanks for what you're doing. Keep all the local gears greased, because
I'm trying.
More of us need better ways to talk. And
I'm trying to, being able to do this kind of stuff, like to get people to, Monday nights are basically people are home. A lot of restaurants, breweries and stuff are closed. Some are open, but a lot of them are not open at 8:00 on a Monday. So I've been trying to do these every 2 weeks and just keep people informed of what's going on, talking to different people from all over the state. I have a couple more coming down the line that I don't want to give away any spoilers yet, but I might have one with some locals. I might have one with somebody you mentioned earlier. There's a lot of things that change as the COVID
get
flies.
John Hall on. He clearly wants to talk. John
we
Hall
did one with
on
John
right away.
How'd that go? John, it was John and Tom from Muckraker, and who they basically switched lives.
Both writers.
Yeah.
Did you talk?
Huh?
That's never good.
Did I talk?
Writer on writer is very hard.
No, I didn't talk at all. I just kind of, then they were talking to, they were talking the GABF stories. I was just like, go ahead. But, the
problem is John's got good enough stories. You
know what I mean?
Like,
stories.
You know me. I like to get in the way, but God, his stories are strong.
John has great stories, but, I'm happy to bring anyone on, and, I would love, I appreciate everyone tuning in on the, with the comments and stuff. And we're going to make this stuff fun. I like the unscripted approach to this, to be honest. And I just think it's really cool to be able to just shoot the shit with our friends and get people excited.
Well, yeah, I haven't had a beer with you in a year. It's nice to get to do that at all. I'm sorry you didn't drink your beer, but I had 2 for you.
Well, I had one. Thanks again, guys. We'll see y'all soon.
All right. And get at us, y'all. Be good. Thank you.
All right.